Well, good morning, my friend. I'm the fly on the wall, but not exactly a fly. I'm your old upright piano. I'm about 70 years old. I thought I had a few things to say. I'd just add them right here in this little special note to you. Give you my story about your story. The story starts way back, even before my time, and it starts right here. This is the old Democratic Women's Club. This is where the first conversations were held, and out of this came an ad in the newspaper, a meeting in a very nice lady's living room, and then at the synagogue and Burn Village, and finally this elegant strip mall next to where the old Burn restaurant was. And here's a close-up of the building. You got the corner space right there behind that truck. And you see how small the space is, but it was nice. It was your space. Look at all those white plastic chairs. Geez, I hope you drew the curtains. But gradually, you began to fill those chairs. You can see it here. And it got so to the point that you needed more space. And you looked around and you saw right there in the very strip mall that you were, the Anchor store, the place with the peaked roof. And that's what you went to there. And there's a picture of you marching from the old space to the new space. And here it is, and boy, it's nice. You see all those people. You see all those white chairs again. But you see all those people. And here's another photo of the other side of the room. And you can also see there in the far corner, Eleanor Ruth. She's sitting there at the organ. Here they are walking a labyrinth in the new space. And best of all, we had a minister. Part-time, but still a minister. Alice Lane was wonderful. She was with us for a year, and, well, we all learned a lot. We also had the choir. And I got a good workout in this place. There was the jazz pianist. There was Jimmy, of course. He even dressed for the occasion. There was Beth Ann, who still plays. Josh Elminger, who was one of our congregants. He was really good. We did a lot of things in that place. A lot of things that we couldn't do in the other place. We got out and marched in the Martin Luther King parade. And look at that crowd. You continued to do good work for the community. You staffed the phones at public radio during their fundraising. You did a lot with the Burmese, especially with the kids. Kevin, this is important, this picture, because he rode in this Bike MS thing, and then he organized a team. And you guys went out there with sometimes as many as 10 people, raising thousands of dollars. You even got an award for it. It's a good man, good man. Well, there were good times. You really had, the place was humming. And then one Sunday morning, I hear everybody talking about a for sale sign out front. Everybody realized, going to have to start looking again. And that's okay, because we are growing and this is an opportunity. Well, guess where the first place was that we looked? Back to the Women's Club, because it just happened to be for sale again. It didn't happen. So we had to keep on looking, and we looked at a lot of places, but I got to tell you about one that we looked at because, well, here it is. It's an old school over on National Avenue. Here's the place that we finally settled on. This is the building. This is Meadow Street. What you did then was you stripped it bare. And here is the last photo taken before you moved into this place. There's the team. Jeannie, Karen, Deborah, and the contractor. The day that you got the certificate of occupancy. And there, at the same time, over on Glen Burnie, they're stripping the joint. It's a good thing you got the certificate, because they would never have held another service in that place. There's a picture of, that's the team that moved everything and everybody. And there's the first service. There's people moving in for the first service. After that, you spent a lot of time working on the outside of the building, painting. There's Mr. Fred planting, and then you started to do some fancy things. There's Mr. Mel, and there's Mr. Duncan, and there's Miss Deborah, and there's Kevin again. All was well until Irene. It was very scary for me, I want to tell you. I thought I was a goner. I really thought I was a goner. This is what the worship area looked like. We were out of there. There was no way. So we went on the road. Well, I didn't go on the road. I just got pushed around in the space while all the repairs were made. You went across the street to Epiphany. You held services there, which is a nice place, but the service was in the afternoon. You went downtown to the synagogue after that. When Thanksgiving came and you weren't in, you had a big Thanksgiving dinner at the yacht club. Here's the man who brought this place back. That's Mel. And he did a job. He did a really great job. We got back in, everybody came, and I got to show you these last couple of pictures, and then I'm going to stop. Here is a return to the services, and you see, it's a crowd. It's a crowd. Here's the fellowship time. Oh, there's me. I'm in the corner. You can just see me barely in the corner in the fellowship area. And there's the choir. And here's the last one I want to show you. This is the last picture. Look carefully at this picture. That place is jammed. It's a crowd. I'm out of here. You talk.
Wow, what an honor to be here and be your service leader today. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of New Bern. As we get started, we offer a gentle reminder to please put your electronic devices into worship mode. My name is Nicolette Powell, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm delighted to celebrate today with you. Please be sure you are checking your email for our update each week to stay up to date on what's happening. Today's service will be a little longer than usual because we have 25 years to celebrate together. So for this week only, there will be a few changes. What else is new? We are suspending announcements from the podium this week, and we encourage you to please connect with one another after the service, and also make sure you're signed up for the UU Update, which is at update@uufnb.org. Today we celebrate Founders Day with a variety of voices from our fellowship through the years, including our minister, Mary Martin, our previous board member, Dave the Wonderful McCracken, who has jumped up in the absence of Tom Shoup, who we thought was going to be here, our current director of music, who has worn many hats through the years, Beth Ann Jacobson, Stan Allen, who we have a secret to share about his true identity, of the UU Minute fame, Ellen Nozel, our membership co-chairperson, Graham and Shelley, representing our newest members of this incredible family that we call UUFNB. Our music will be provided by Beth Ann Jacobson and the choir. Our AV production team is Stu and Stevie. If you are here for the first or second time, or if you brought a guest, we are very glad that you're visiting. If you feel comfortable, would you like to stand and introduce yourself or your guest? No pressure. We promise not to stare if we notice you're a newbie. Okay. We invite you to fill out our newcomer registry that can be found in the end of each row and place it in the offering basket later in the service so that we can keep in touch with you. We don't sell your information. We're not going to spam you. After the service, we hope you'll stay and join us for some food and fellowship. In this place where we keep love at the center and hate has no home, you are welcome here. Whether you are a friend, a member, or a visitor, you are welcome here. Wherever you are this morning, in this room, gathering on our streaming platforms, or watching this video at a later date, you're welcome here. Wherever you are from, whoever you love, whatever your faith tradition is or isn't, all of the identities you carry with you, you are welcome and you are celebrated here. I'm not crying, you're crying. We light this chalice to honor the memory of those who have come before us, kindling the flames of wisdom in dark times, willing to challenge orthodoxy even at great personal risk, giving us a legacy of freedom and a love of truth, a legacy that warms our hearts and lights our paths.
Mother, do you have change? Do you have change?
What?
Do you have change?
I do. Did you know that when I first started here, I moved the furniture around in the library, and I asked permission from the current president before I did it, and I also added some pagan services into our mix. I brought this little circle of friends back here that I
What?
really thought.
Mom, I don't mean that kind of change. You know that, right?
I don't know. What do you mean?
Here's Zev.
Yay! Thank you.
You all right? Did you just trigger much on that one?
I guess I am. Sorry, Zev. Beggars can't be choosers.
Scumbo is really hard.
To be fair.
To be fair, Unitarian Universalists do have a history of being change makers.
We do, so much so that we made a chart about it, and we give it out in UU 101. It's like this. Stephanie's going to show it to you, too. All the way back to between 220 and 230, theologian Origen wrote the first principle, which is largely considered the most influential Universalist text of the early church.
Origen did something called systematic theology, where he took all the chaos that was the oral and written texts of Christianity and he organized them.
I bet that rubbed some folks the wrong way.
You would win that bet. Throughout history, we have a reputation for being people so committed to our values, so intent on seeking truth, that we were willing to shift and adapt to find that truth, even if it went against the status quo.
Especially if it went against the status quo.
Michael Servetus is considered the father of modern Unitarianism because in 1531 he wrote a paper called On the Error of the Trinity, in which he condemned the doctrine of the Trinity.
When it was first forming, being a Unitarian in a literal sense meant believing in the oneness of God, rather than a God or gods in parts. Later, it would expand to envision God and truth as bigger than a single religion.
So after Servetus in 1531, in 1774, Theophilus Lindsey preached Unitarianism at Essex Street Chapel in London.
And then in 1785, King's Chapel of Boston, which had previously been Episcopal, removed references to the Trinity and became the first Unitarian church in the USA.
We might wonder, though, if we are so inclusive, why did it take so long for either denomination to take off? Especially when it has roots that go all the way back to the Council of Nicaea and arguably Jesus. The answer is that it wasn't until the 1700s, when Unitarians and Universalist ministers began to come over to America, that they were able to find religious freedom to seek a deeper truth without the fear of being labeled a heretic or excommunicated from the larger church. The distance gave them a sense of protection.
I don't think many UUs today care about being called what was that word?
A heretic. You're right. I think some of us wear it as a badge of honor. It just means you believe something contrary to the official doctrine of the faith. And people could be labeled a heretic for any number of reasons. It was a way for the leaders of the church and governments in many instances to maintain control. And as people who were already studying world religions and accepting non-Christian members in the 1800s, we certainly had plenty of change for those who were ready for it.
And another thing that would have definitely got us labeled as heretics was ordaining a woman in the 1800s.
And yet, Unitarians and Universalists separately did just that in 1871 and 1919. Unitarians and Universalists have certainly been known as people willing to practice change in order to widen the circle.
And widen the circle they did by ordaining their first African American ministers in both denominations in 1887 and 1920.
They kept pushing the boundaries because in 1933, the Humanist Manifesto was published and signed by 14 Unitarian ministers and 1 Universalist minister.
And it was in 1961, after 14 years of discussion, that the denominations merged, becoming the Unitarian Universalist Association.
In 1970, the UU became the first religion to officially condemn discrimination against gay and bisexual persons, and the first openly gay minister was appointed in 1980.
By this time, the UUs were seeking to further define themselves as something more than Unitarian and more than Universalist.
So they adopted the 7 principles in Article 2. Article 2 is our purpose statement in our bylaws.
Yes, I remember those. The inherent worth and dignity of every person.
Justice, equity, and compassion in human relations.
Acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations.
A free and responsible search for truth and meaning.
The right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and society at large.
The goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all.
And respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. You know, I really like those. Why aren't they in the bulletin anymore?
Remember that word change we've been talking so much about? Part of our bylaws state that every 15 years, Article 2 is to be reviewed by an independent committee in the UUA, and any changes voted on in General Assembly.
Just more change.
Yes. And now the values language has been adopted, and we have a flower that represents it. And if you look at the whole description of each value, which is in the bulletin each week, much of the same or very similar sentences are still there, but have been updated. And honestly, it makes it kind of fun to remember, easier to talk to our friends about, and I think it helps them to have an even deeper meaning.
Weren't there hand gestures for that?
There are. Do you want to do them with me? Transformation, equity, pluralism, justice, generosity, interdependence, and love.
So, Mom,
Yes,
do you have change?
I do. Yay!
Can my children come with me? I'll share gum with you.
We come now to a sacred time of sharing joys and sorrows. Because this service is absolutely packed with joy and some sorrow of its own, just for this week, we ask that as Beth Ann plays this next song, you drop your stone in the water in silence. Our caring committee will be taking notes of those that do this and will follow up with you to offer support. We also ask that you email or contact them using the information in your bulletin if you need support. Please come.
To honor the ancestors of this fellowship, the people who first came together to create a home for a liberal religion here in New Bern, who worked to raise money for a building, who sat in committee meetings and created bylaws, who chopped and marinated and baked for potlucks, who painted and weeded and pounded nails and washed countless dishes, who gathered to worship, to learn, to grieve, to heal, to serve, to build justice, to transform their lives and this world. We are the recipients of an incredible gift and a beautiful vision. Let us do our part to keep this congregation strong, vital, and thriving for generations to come. The morning offering will gratefully be received. Thank you for all the ways that you give, for all the ways over the last 26 years and more you have contributed to give of your resources, your time, your presence, and in doing so, you ensured that this fellowship continues to serve our community.
That was a lot of history in just a short period of time, and I could see some eyes glaze over, but that's why we printed it out for you. And I know there's a lot of paper today. Dave, will you come up and join me? But I feel like we cover a lot of material, it helps to hand it out. Do you agree? Yeah? Okay. Well, also in your packets today, you had a handout that looks like a rundown of our history. It's on the other side of that. Beth Ann and Stan, if y'all want to come up and join me too. Come on, Dave. When you look at this for a moment with me, Ann and Stan and Dave get settled. Some of this you heard in our gathering videos, which was narrated by Jerry Mackle. And I'm hoping that we can add on to that video for a little part of our history. I think it's on. I'm not going to go through every single line, but as we talk, you'll notice some things. We also have a glimpse of our bulletin from 10/24/99. Take a look at the order of service. Joys and sorrows in the middle, doxology. Maybe it looks a little familiar, but the service was much more Christian-centered than our services are now. The service was originally scheduled for 10/17/1999, but it got postponed because of another hurricane named Irene. That was the first of 2 hurricanes named Irene that have impacted our fellowship. Now, I'm not particularly superstitious. But if there's another hurricane named Irene on the radar, I think I'll be evacuating for that one. I talked to Barbara Owen last week about this service, and she was telling me how this whole dream came about for this incredible, loving, broad, inclusive place to exist. And she told me that she visited with her sister and she had gone to a UU there. And she knew then that she wanted very much for there to be a UU here. She got to looking around and she couldn't find anything close by, so she told her sister, I think I want to start a church. And her sister said, you want to do what? It does sound like an incredibly huge undertaking, and it was. Barbara wanted me to share with you that while we're celebrating 25 years since we joined the UUA, there was work for many years prior to that. She said for years, even prior to 1999, when we became a charter, they met at Athene's house and had brunches and other places. Where is Barbara? I saw her this morning, I thought. There she is. Barbara, I hope that you know how grateful we are to you for all of this work. I hope that you can look at this now and feel a sense of pride. Thank you for creating this haven.
You know, one of the really great things about being a part of this place, or a place that hasn't existed before, or hundreds and years, if we can still put faces to our founders. You can't always do that in the Methodist Church and those things. These are our change makers who made it possible for us to eventually gather in this room today. They aren't just names on a page to us. And so, as we settle into our service, we want to remember and specifically call by name those that signed the first charter.
At the time of our incorporation, Duncan Harkin was the president of the board and worked us through the whole process. Duncan was a conservationist, a teacher, an ally to the marginalized. He was also devoted to his Scottish heritage. Duncan died in May of this year, and his impact is still felt amongst us.
We've already talked about Barbara Owen. That living room, that they met belonged to Athene Bunn. If you look at our founding documents, Athene Bunn is all over them. And of course, her house, right down on Spencer Avenue, is where it all began.
Now, not long after Athene and Barbara placed an ad in the Sun Journal, they got a call from Francis and Wally Runner, who had tried their hand at creating a Unitarian group in 1985. Their experience and wisdom in the process helped Athene and Barbara. With the help of Wally, the group was able to move their meetings to the synagogue in 1996.
Reverend Robert Murphy was instrumental in getting things started with everyone. He invited me here. I met him at a gay pride festival in Greenville. As our regular consulting minister, beginning in 1997, he really shepherded our founders through this process, and he signed the book that day as a charter member. His wife, Lynn Dalzell, joined as a charter member too. She was a physician's assistant by trade, and also offered presentations through the years.
Robert Skoll was our founding corresponding secretary. He also donated the book that our new members signed, and that was back in the June of 1999. His wife Carol helped with organizing the Buddhist Sangha in 2000.
Shirley Blackwell was a book critic for the Sun Journal and started our first UU book club in 2002. Through the years, she served in many capacities, tirelessly welcoming visitors and inspired all who listened to her poetry. She always had a great smile and a hug when you walked in the door.
Robert D. Stoller shared his wisdom with us regularly through the years. In one newsletter edition from January 1999, he said, "Honest day-to-day living drives our spirituality. We come together not to be told of dogma, but to share and give help, finding, knowing, and experiencing spirituality."
If you knew L.N. Salisbury, you would agree that she was one of a kind and born to be a UU. L.N. was a strong woman, funny, smart, and certainly not shy about expressing her strong libertarian opinions. No politics in the sanctuary, according to L.N. Ellen had many gifts which she graciously shared with our fellowship. Her beautiful voice as a longtime member and soloist in our choir, the unique chandelier in the gathering area reflecting her colorful personality, which hangs out there. I've just repeated that, it hangs out there. And finally, she made a generous contribution in her will to our endowment fund. Ellen was a bright spark. She loved this fellowship, and we miss her.
And her daughter Chelsea is who lit our chalice during the charter service.
Roger Sample was also an integral part of the change being brought to New Bern. He introduced Barbara Owen to the UU congregation in Kinston, Greenville, and Morehead City. He served as president in the year 2000 and started the first UU F&B chess club in 2007.
John and Marty Chandler were engaged in so many ways. You literally can't look back at the first newsletters without seeing Marty's name, because she was the first editor of it. Marty made our Labyrinth plaque, which represents the world earth-based religions. They were often involved in the coastal women's shelter activities on behalf of the fellowship from the early days.
Nancy and George Wisniewski were active members of our fellowship from the early start. Nancy's master's degree in education helped her to advocate for religious education programming, and she was also a dedicated bike MS rider.
Carolyn Haas was a quiet presence in our fellowship who found solace in a welcoming environment. A realtor by trade, Carolyn had relevant knowledge as we began looking for our own space.
Jill Eberly served on the board alongside Ellen for religious education during our charter, and her husband Rob and their daughter Alexandra extinguished the chalice during our charter service.
Kerwin Schaefer created the Taoism plaque on the wall behind us. He was an artist, an activist who poured himself into everything he did, including advocating for us to become a welcoming congregation with UUA during the chartering process, which unfortunately wouldn't be accomplished until 2016 under Reverend Cynthia Snavely.
Mary Ellen Bartlett is the artist behind our Christian Cross plaque. Mary Ellen was an activist and deeply caring person. She was an art teacher and worked with our refugee children.
Mildred, or Millie, and Ron Kilburn were literally on the money. Millie was our first treasurer. They were both active throughout the early years, and I bet they always had change.
L. Stanton Allen Jr.
L. Stanton Allen Jr. You've been keeping secrets from us.
L. Stanton Allen Jr. We all know this guy, I think. But did you know that Stan was the driving force behind our Buddhist Sangha group with Ron Kilburn and Carol Scull, who have already talked about? Like many of us, Stan has served in many of our offices, including president.
Jim Stobinski was our charter vice president and ever the gracious host with many potlucks at his home through the years.
Francis Knapp is the artist responsible for our own plaque. Francis Knapp is the artist responsible for our own plaque. Fran was one of the pillars of our UU, very active and served as our unofficial photographer for many years. She was our first life member, voted as such in 2013.
Then we have Fred and Alice Sink, who are sitting over there. Fred created our Islamic crescent and star plaque. Through the years, Fred and Alice have been world travelers, but their heart and their home remained at the UUF&B, serving in several offices throughout the years.
Howard Barrett was an enthusiastic participant in everything he did around here. January of 1996, he led a talk about Howard's End on the beginning and end of the universe and the possibility of alternate universes. Among other things, he also served as vice president of programs in 98 to 99.
Paula and Phil Urban were instrumental in the start of this fellowship. They donated, Phil actually donated one of our first pianos, which is the piano on the wall that Jerry talked about.
It was also a piano that was a player piano,
Yes,
and the player part was taken out of it.
Okay. They also hosted monthly potlucks at their home from the early days. And Paulo created the Star of David, which is behind us on the wall, and the T-shirt quilt, which is out in the gathering area. She put that together. Phil regularly facilitated discussions about our presentations each Sunday in the coffee hour after the services.
Ilona Forgang served as co-president with Paula Urban in 2002. At the beginning of their term, we had 31 members, and they closed out the year with 41, prompting our move to the main storefront on Glen Burnie. Ilona contributed many things to this fellowship through the years alongside her husband, John Knauf. Together, they created the center plaques on our wall, representing our denominational heritage. John published our newsletter for many years. Dr. Sidney Barnwell was a stellar human being in many ways, and we were lucky to have such a change maker in our fellowship. Dr. Barnwell did a lot of work with AIDS patients at a time when that was pretty controversial. In his work getting us involved with Juneteenth, advocating for prostate cancer screenings, he made us all better.
We are really grateful to every single one of these individuals and to every person whose name has appeared in our membership book through the years. and to those who've been friends and have never signed the book. There's no way that we could cover all of the accomplishments by our founding members or by you, for all the ways you're willing to be change makers, as uncomfortable as that is. All of them. All of you. Because each presence makes this place what it is, makes us who we are.
Time
Yeah,
to take a break for a minute and kind of wiggle it out. Please stand in body or spirit and join us for hymn number 1010, We Give Thanks.
Put your hand in. There you go. Two. I don't know what that one is. One. Yep. Graham, a few weeks ago, you stood up here and you told us about change from a sociological perspective. And you actually said something that Zeb said earlier, that you use are change makers, that we literally do have change.
May not always feel comfortable at first, but transformation is one of our core values. Even before we had the exact words for the values as they are now written in Article 2, we've always had that willingness to re-examine what we do to see how we fit into society and to make adjustments to our own processes when needed. Change is really part of our DNA.
I know that the two of you joined us a few months ago, and I know that you both have some history with UUism in your personal past. We really jumped in with both feet. And so we started by talking about our roots and where we've come from, but also where we are here and now. So besides just changing the furniture or the order of service, can we go over some of the ways that we specifically in this fellowship have had an impact and maybe even just a little bit changed our own world?
The first thing that drew me here was how bold this fellowship is in its support for the LGBTQIA2+ community. I love how visible this fellowship is in the community with our sponsorship of the New Bern Pride Prom. And although some of society may take equal rights for granted, we are being shown every day that we can't assume any of these rights are permanent. We have to work to make sure everyone is included in the process of change. Having a safe place where people can truly be who they are, especially in the queer community, is so important right now.
Another one is the support for the refugee families. Some of those wells have dried up a bit with policy changes and fear, but the willingness to help these families and to help them get a start here is so very important, especially right now when things are divisive for immigrants.
Yes, and Interfaith Refugee Ministry sponsorship isn't the only way we're involved with immigrant communities either. We help with the Mexican, the Farm Workers Shirt Drive. Our Share the Plate offering is going to be with them for next week. Our members are deeply involved with Arts to End Genocide programs, and just this week, I think our Finance Committee has approved a new deed money for this year's budget to help with the world aid shortfalls with rice with some of our partners.
I truly believe, and I hope we all do, that we're changing the world one step at a time. The way we care for the planet isn't just talk, it's action. From the Stewards of the Earth program to Operation Clean Sweep and the Riverwalk Cleanup, these efforts are making an impact and creating a ripple effect for the future.
I also think the people in this room are very generous people, and that generosity changes things. Whether it's feeding the meals at RCS, which we started in 2005, and all the ways that Fred and others are involved in that, raising money for Crop Walk, an MS bike ride, or toiletry drives, and even our newest addition from the Social Action Justice Ministry of the Food Pantry, right beside the little library built by Alice and Fred's grandson.
Tomorrow is RCS too, and I'm sure Fred would love some help. And how incredible to see that the next generation is stepping up to become change makers as well.
Yes, and we can't forget about the ways we build bridges for race and cultural divides in our community. Tom Shoup and others stay involved in the Equal Justice Initiative, the MLK Scholarship Fund, and in sponsoring the Juneteenth Festival every year.
As the old saying goes, we put our money where our mouth is.
And I tell people all the time, I'm a little bit of a one-trick pony, so I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Tai Chi, Molly's meditation, Chris Doty's Qigong classes, and how opening our doors to spiritual experiences outside of worship services gives people the opportunity to experience things in this room, in this sacred space, which ever so gently allows religious trauma to begin to heal.
Yes, and while we are on it, all the various things that meet in this building, just having this space to be available for Democracy NC, Indivisible, Carolina Nature Coalition, the Wise Women Group, and countless other meetings and groups that align with our values. Just having this space to know that at least not having somewhere to meet won't be a stumbling block.
And that's something I feel really strongly about. I sincerely believe that it's a shame when the hallowed halls sit empty all week long just so that we can gather somewhere on a Sunday morning. For me, the work of the church is done every single day of the week. And you can tell a community is thriving not just from their Sunday morning attendance, but also from the number of people in and out of this building all week long.
One only needs to take a glance at our building use calendar to see that we're fulfilling needs in the community. We are busy people at our fellowship, and this building is serving a need in the community.
And with the awareness that I have little to do with it, I feel proud to know how engaged we are in making change in the present tense. That as our roots have grown deeper, we have taken that opportunity to spread our branches and reach out to help and make a difference in the world. Not every faith community does that. And I truly believe that we are being good stewards of this dream that our charter members have.
And for that, we are grateful. Please stand, embody our spirit, and join us again for Hymn 1010, We Give Thanks.
Mom, you gotta change.
I'm not falling for this again. Here.
Okay,
do.
but I meant like in general, it's healthy for us to change. It's part of growing.
It is part of growing. It's also scary, especially when it feels like the world is on fire and nothing is ever the same.
That's a lot. But if we practice hope and trust the process,
Trust the process. If it were just that simple. If we take the metaphor from our common hymn, Spirit of Life, this is where the statement on our new logo comes from. Grow roots, find wings. Our ancestors, or perhaps roots, made change happen in Unitarian Universalism. And as a tree's roots stretch deeper into the soil, it loosens the soil around it. I imagine that might be uncomfortable for the soil. But when a tree has well-established roots, it helps the tree not just have more stability itself, but the roots help prevent erosion. It helps the soil absorb more water. The change the roots create in the soil, protect it and the environment around it. Similarly, I believe our roots in this fellowship have changed the very nature of our community. Is it easy? No. It's the most difficult thing we do. But my goodness, is it worth it? We've created a space where atheists and agnostics, Christians and Muslims, Jews and pagans and spiritualists and scientists and can come and gather around a set of shared values, values that ask us to lean into compassion and away from scarcity. Do you realize how miraculous that is? To create this type of kingdom, family, kingdom in the Bible Belt South. In this state, with our history of racism and bigotry, to be a little nest of safety seems like magic in a really healing way. Our tree, if you'll come with me on the metaphor, the branches have reached out to minority and marginalized communities and offered them shade and protection through the years, creating a refuge in literal storms as people have huddled under our tent during a thunderstorm at a Juneteenth festival, and sponsoring families seeking safety in our country from the storms of war and oppression.
okay, but now what, Mom? We have talked about our past and our present. What's coming up in the future?
What a great segue. Well, now that we're rooted and solid, now we find our confidence. Now we find our wings. In the near future, we will work through the process of welcoming congregation renewal with the UUA. We've done a lot of work on this already. But very, very soon, we will hold educational sessions on how to ensure we continue to be a welcoming community, which means feeling grounded enough to let the winds of change blow a little bit. To be willing to lean in, to learn, and to resist the tendency to be afraid. In the near future, we'll find ways to be prudent about our safety. We know that what we have here is different. That might make us a target. And now we ask tough questions about how to remain welcoming and remain as safe as we can. And when we put all that change in, we are investing in a brighter future. And I personally believe we'll see rewards roll in for that. Just like when you put a quarter in the machine, you get something back. Not because we do our change to get something back, but because I believe this is how the universe works. I practice hope. We are going to see ourselves grow bigger and stronger as a fellowship. And like Naomi said, in the not too far off future, I imagine we will grow out of this space. There will be another wall, just like the one before, waiting for a piano and a choir and people just like us.
Sounds like growing roots and finding wings.
And so it is.
I am so proud of us. 3.5 minutes over time. Woo! Shalom. Salam. Ashe. Namaste. And peace.